5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve. This is Live with Neve. Iconic musicians, comedy, and God knows what else. Hold on!
All right. It seems like I just left this place. For those of you who are watching earlier, thanks for watching. You're on Live with Neve, and this is, it's 3 o'clock. It's beautiful here in New York. It's cold as hell. And today we're going to talk a little bit about movies and production and how the process involved with it pertaining to sound. Some of you may have heard terms like mix to pix or Foley, and believe me, it's not a Foley catheter, so it's nothing that can hurt you. Any rate, we have a teacher that used to teach me at Full Sail University many moons ago. He was Al Di Meola's synclavier player, for those of you who know who Al is and understand what a synclavier is. Basically, synclavier is like your laptop with Pro Tools in it. And with some additions. It's a sequencer, it's a digital recorder, and it is a MIDI program. Anyway, it's too complicated. They're real expensive, and you can do everything you could with that on a laptop. So I'm going to be talking to Dan about the many movies, the experience he's had in all the different aspects of his career. He's also a wicked talented musician and producer. The guy, I've known him for so long. Actually, one of his bands, I think, is on one of the CD compilations I released. Those were a lot of years ago, but Dan's bands are always excellent. He's an excellent guitar player. He sings good. And aside from being a terrible human being, but no, sorry, Dan, you're a great guy, and I love you to death, man. So without any ado, I'm going to bring Julie on, and we're going to be talking mixing, post, stars, studio etiquette, anything that we think is cool. Julie, you are the queen of studio etiquette. What do you think?
God.
How about it?
How about what exactly?
How about Dan and what we're talking about today? You sound like you just woke up, or you look at you. Look at that smile.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah, let's bring Dan on. Dan,
Here he is.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's the Jewel Tate. Oh my God, you know?
Oh my God.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
Hey, Dan. Hi.
Hey.
So, Dano, how are you today, man?
Oh man, I'm great. Today was a good day. Got in a little bit late to the studio, but you know, we're rocking now. It's good.
Excellent. Well, we like that. And I know that I've talked to somebody else. I talked to Ronnie earlier, and your weather's making me go.
Beautiful in Florida. I mean, I don't know about the
yes.
cold up there in New York, but beautiful here in Florida today. Yeah, just beautiful.
It is a beautiful day, and you guys are rocking. All I can say is I'm plotting my escape back south. The key is trying to figure out how to keep a place here in New York area and a place in Florida, because St. Pete Beach is looking like where I want to go. And
yeah, man.
You know, along with every other person in New York has just had enough of the grind and the cold. You know, we're all moving there.
So
we'll
Neil,
see you soon.
you said something earlier that I completely forgot, and you even mentioned it in the preview earlier today. I was watching you, and that I was on one of my bands was on a compilation CD you put out or something. I completely forgot about it. I remember that.
Yeah, okay. You were on either Across Tampa Bay, 97 or 95, I believe. And what made me think of it is the reason I started calling people the whole show, I was just doing Tampa music stories. And then I decided I'd write a book. And I'm working on it and plotting through. It's, real quick, it's called Across Tampa Bay, the same name as the CDs that you were on. And it's the history of music in Tampa from 1960 till the present. And anybody who's anybody, all of our friends, if you take our friends list and then do a 6 steps of separation, the book went from 100 people to now it's up to around 400. And everybody's coming out of the woodwork to tell. So tell me about that band. Do you remember it? What
I was going to say, I think that band was probably the Suspects.
Yes, it was the Suspects. It's all coming back to me now. Yes.
And just this past year, the guitar player passed away from that band, who was a great friend of mine, Nick Bustinto, who was
Sorry
also
to hear that.
yeah, they've been around. He'd played this area forever, and him and Tom Erico, shout out to my friend Tom, is he's still got the band going. They're called the Edisons now, but those guys played together for, man, it was one of those relationships where they played together for, I'm thinking 25 years or something. And they did a couple of CDs, a couple of live original music CDs, as well as just cover bands extraordinaire. Great stuff.
Wow.
Great stuff. But anyways, that was nice. That was probably the first band that I was in when I came to Tampa Bay from after I was teaching at Full Sail with you over in Orlando. So that was the first band I got in.
Okay. Well, it's a small world, and the times, I'm amazed how many people I keep running into. I remember hearing at Full Sail from somebody once. It's an old cliche. Now we don't even think about it. But remember people on the way up. Remember on the way down. And, it really pays to maintain your friendships, your network of people, and not just call them for favors, call them to hang and say, if you don't maintain that, you don't have anything.
Neil, I've said that I'm playing with this guy now that he hasn't really been in a lot of bands, but he and I have been playing together for over 10 years. My friend Warren Bound, and we've gone through a couple of drummers and keyboard players because of circumstances. Nothing bad, just people move on, people get sick, people move away, whatever. But and I always told them whenever we have auditions or have somebody. You can like the guy or not like the guy, but I always tell them, you don't ever burn that bridge, dude. You never know when you want to go back or you need that guy for something. And so what? You don't like the whatever about him, the way he plays, or something, but you don't know that couldn't be something later on that you want or need. So that's my fluff.
And it's like you have to.
And what's wrong with being a nice guy?
It's a lot easier. And if you're wired that way, you'll find you'll succeed more because people don't want to work with jerks. I can think of someone in our industry who went to our school, smart kid, not going to name any names. However, he came out and I gave him a couple of opportunities for internships. I offered him a couple of jobs. They were not high dollar positions. This was like working at a factory doing message on hold. You might know of some of the places I'm referring to.
I know a lot of those places, yeah.
And, I get him and he was good. He could do. The problem was, he took the internship and he was pissed that he didn't get to go to the record plant or somewhere.
Yeah,
so he was always kind of a surly guy. He'd be late. The stuff he did was sloppy, and you couldn't coach him. You couldn't really say, hey man, look, I know you're new and you're green. Let me show you how to do this. I mentor the shit out of him.
Well, finally, we all start somewhere. We always talk about that. Everybody didn't know anything when they started out, but you learn. But that's what you got to open yourself up to and be willing to do and go for. So,
yeah, absolutely. Attitude is everything. And I imagine that's like everything you've done from being in a band. It's all the same thing, I think.
Well, I got to tell you, there was a borderline there. This is a good story though, but because being a Sinclair guy, I got right out of Berklee College of Music, I got in, I went to the very first seminar that they ever had, New England Digital had, and they held it at Berklee College of Music. And so I was fortunate and got right into it. So I was a Sinclair guy, a digital guy, like right out of college. I hardly did any multi-track tape recording, editing, all that stuff. So then I taught, did Al Di Meola, went to Full Sail, taught at Full Sail, then came over to Tampa and did stuff. But the point is that I think I might have had a little bit of attitude, which was, I kind of skipped some of that stuff and thought maybe I was a little more than I really was, which sometimes you got to have a little bit of that because you got to show some confidence. You don't want to be the guy that's like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Right. But there's a fine line. You can't be over because everyone will see through your bullshit and then you're just a jerk. Right. But then you don't want to like let everybody know that you don't know because then nobody's going to hire you if you don't know. So you got to have a little bit.
You hit it just on the head. It's one thing to be good and have healthy confidence, but don't be an arrogant SOB who's cocky and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because I can remember one of our students. His nickname was Richie Rich, and he was in our class. And his dad was going to buy him a big studio in Philly, a huge place, right? What ended up happening? I remember Gary Platt in class take a fixturing pole like this. He was talking about all his grand plans he had. He had Mix Magazine with a studio that was for sale, and he was going on, and he's an insufferable bore. He's a thoroughly charmless man. Probably failed at everything his dad paid for him to do, and then tried audio, and he wasn't really gifted in that field either. But
I just got one question about that guy, okay? And we're not giving away any names because I don't even remember his name. But did he have a green Jaguar with a leopard skin interior?
Yes, that is him.
I remember that guy. That's all we had to say. That's amazing.
All I can tell you is you remember Jose Blanco? He was like my buddy in that class. He works down at, he's a mastering engineer. Mastering engineer, works with Telemundo and everybody. Really, I'm going to have him on the show.
So he's down in Miami.
Yeah, he's down in Miami. Okay. He's got his own mastering facility now, but he's all over Telemundo and Gloria Estefan's stuff. Hooked up in the community, got a couple of Grammys, if I'm not mistaken, or part of somebody else's. But when we would be in lab, in the Synclavier lab, this guy would be in there bumbling around, and he came in there at like 2 a.m. once. I come from a gig in Tampa, drive to my crazy late ass, gig, and this kid with his girlfriend, he had 2 chicks with him. He was at Treasure Island all night, getting like lit. He was flat powder in his nose, and he had these 2 scafoozas. And then he shows up to lab, and he's there wanting to impress these girls. And Jose and we wanted to get in there, which we did. We were dominated that session. Like, he showed up, and he was late, and he was talking smack, and I just got up, put my project in, and started working with it. Get my shit done. Jose and I each worked on each other's projects so we could fucking, do a good one. He'd be like, "Oh man, you fucking forgot this shit. What are you doing?" And back and forth. But this guy was the whole time talking. So, and I looked at him and said, "So, which one of these chicks are you hooking up with?" I said, "I think Jose's kind of hot for that one," which just pissed him off. It was his girlfriend.
Oh, boy.
I used to make fun of him all the time in class when he'd be talking about buying.
But dude, that's the thing is, you and I went back to the Full Sail days, and so there were, well, that kind of takes both of us back quite a bit because
the culture changed.
What were the years on that, Neil?
92 is the graduating year for me.
Is that when you graduated? Well, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense because I left there in 92 when my daughter was 2 years old.
Okay, I vaguely remember it because you coming through, Jeff Arthur. That's how we hooked up again.
Then when we came back to Tampa, we met through, and I remembered you from Full Sail, and we were working. Because when I first came over here, this was interesting too. When I first came over from Orlando, I was working at a facility that had a Neve console. Neve VR48 and a Synclavier. That's why they hired me because I had been teaching both of those systems at Full Sail. And so when I came over here, Jeff was the resident at the studio.
Yes.
So I got to know him and work with Vinny and those guys. But unfortunately, I was kind of the guy that got him kicked out of there too, because no offense to them, but the studio that hired me, I couldn't get any work done because Jeff was in there all day long. Right, I was telling the guy, I can't work in here when they're in here, so you got to make a decision. I'm not working nights, that's for sure. And Jeff wouldn't do it. So that kind of, they had to go get their own place eventually.
Right. Well,
I started doing sessions for Jeff.
And build that. You know what? It worked out. I ended up building a very nice facility for Jeff. His A room over there, Vinny and we built it. Vinny's a real great guy, but his knowledge of acoustics, all I can say is I helped. I learned a few things from John Storick that. We built the gobos using, a design with Helmholtz resonators.
Where was that at? Where did you build that?
Marwood. That was where we had the Atari Concept One. We had the Studer Digital. let me think. We had the first CD player, which cost, that Studer was 25 grand. We bought it in Vegas at the not NAM, whatever it was. I don't even AES.
Maybe.
And
Let me tell you, man.
We got like a A880. We got a 2-track digital. We still had the old machine and our 2-track analog. So that was an expensive day on the old black card. I'll put it that way.
Well, that was that was the one thing that was nice about Jeff being there when I first got there, was he had that really nice Studer 24 track.
Yes.
And I did a couple of projects with that. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that room sounded good. I'm proud of it because, like, I did a couple of other studios with him, and like a lot of us in the business, I've had to wear many hats to keep alive and pay the bills.
Yeah.
So what have you been working on lately? Changing the tack a little bit.
That's fine.
Questions, comments, click on the chat box.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh,
It was a freak. You know what it was? It was a poltergeist thing. We have a guy who
we had our
on
poltergeist moment. We had our moment. That's it. Okay.
It was it. It happened. It happened earlier. A bottle of ice water slung by me, and there was nobody in the room. We got some poltergeist activity, so we're going to get John Spear of Kinsey Paranormal. John, wherever you're at today, I need a cleansing here. And I'm telling you, what's going on here, the sage ain't going to do shit. The studio's got...
Yeah. So no poltergeist here, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. But anyways, lately, of course things changed, this past year, everything. So, but I was, here's what I love about the place I'm at right now, Neil, is that I'm the engineer here. I'm the only guy in my studio. And so, and I'm all about whatever. I will do, if someone wants to come in and do some recording do vocals. I'm working with a couple of girls right now that are singing some tracks for some demo tapes that they want to send out for college approvals and just for posterity, because they've been there's a group that I work with of all girls, and they've been with this group for 12 years, and they just want to, now that they're graduating and moving on, they want to have some CDs recorded. So I'll do that. I just transferred a bunch of tapes. I don't know if you can see in the background. Yeah, you can see the reel in the background back there.
Yeah,
I mean, like techniques. I mean, I'll transfer tapes. But last year I did like 5 audio books, which was great, timing with everything going on, because audio books, they come in and read, and then when they go, I'm editing by myself. I don't have to be anybody has to be in here, just myself. So I edit it up, clean it up, mix it, send it off to the publisher. They come back with a few fixes. Up it goes to Amazon or iTunes or wherever they're, Audible. So that kind of stuff. And then, of course, one of the things that I was started to tell you this, I think, last time we started our interview, Neil, was that for some reason, the ADR stuff, working with movies and television, really came to me a lot at this facility, and has been great. And now you were talking a little bit on the pre-show about doing movie stuff, and I've mostly that I've done is ADR, meaning
automatic dialogue replacement.
Yeah, and so a lot of actors are local here in Tampa, or passing through Tampa, and they'll call me. Sound stages will call me and say, "Hey, we got an actor in town. We got your name from, Warner Brothers or, wherever, Skywalk Ranch, whatever. And we need to do an ADR session." And I'm like, sure, send me the picture. Let me know what you got. Send it over. And then, the actor shows up. You go in the booth. Sometimes, it's 2 or 3 lines. Sometimes it's 30 or 40. Who knows, So that's been great,
consistent too, I'd imagine, because the industry keeps churning it out.
Oh yeah. And so, you get television shows and movies has been great. I mean, one of the, I did, the 2 people that I've been very fortunate, I have to say, those things just come to you. You don't it's hard to just go out and find those. But I've done, I don't know, 20 movies, 30 movies with John Travolta, with a lot of stuff that he's done. And I've probably done maybe 15 or 20 movies with David Bautista, which is
tell me some of the movies. Tell me some of the movies you've done with both of them that people might want to look up. And what are your favorites, things you've worked on with those guys?
Well, probably the most recent thing that I did was Gotti, the Life and Times of John Gotti. That was with Travolta, right?
Right.
And the fun thing about that particular project was there's two elements to it. Was, if you watch the movie, if you've seen the movie, is he narrates certain sections of it.
Right.
So to do the narration stuff at the time, he wanted to do it at his house.
Right.
So he had me come to his house in,
up in Ocala.
Yeah, Ocala. And so, flew me in, and of course I landed on the land strip right there by his house, flew the plane right up to his house, did the session that night, and then drove back the next day. And he just recorded all those lines. We did all those lines, the narration lines. And then about 3 months later, 2 months later, whatever, then he had to do some ADR for the character. So then he came into the studio and we worked on those too. So I did both of those things with him, which was great. But I've worked with him on, he did Hairspray. I remember doing that. Remember, he was the mom in that when he dressed like a woman and had to dance and sing and do a bunch of lines in that movie. That was a lot of fun working on that movie with him. And probably one of my favorite movies that he's done, though, and I say this all the time, though, too, is I did a bunch of ADR for the movie he did called Love Song for Bobby Long, which wasn't a big hit movie, but is a great movie if you want to check that out sometime. That's really a lot of fun to watch. And it's kind of a music, because he's a musician in the movie, too, so it's kind of interesting in that regard. So that's our thing with, John. But with David, my two big accomplishments with him, which were a lot of fun, and again, didn't even know, and I think I got credits on him too, but is Guardians of the Galaxies, which were huge. Those were huge movies.
Just let me interrupt you. I meant to ask you, what was the last movie you mentioned?
Love Song for Bobby Long.
Love
Song for Bobby Long.
Bobby Long. Okay, that's about the murder
I always
in
mention
Tampa?
that movie. What's that?
Was that about the murder in Tampa?
No.
Okay, good. That 6 step of separation was going to get really strange on the Venn diagram. I was like, wow.
No.
So Julie, what do you think? You got some questions to talk to my man here for a minute.
Oh,
yeah.
when you went straight to Marvel and talking about the whole the whole Avengers series, and went to Guardians of the Galaxy. Tell us more about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, David Bautista is, of course, he started out as a wrestler, but I mean, he really, when he went to the movie thing, he went all in. I mean, this guy really wanted to, become a serious actor. He didn't want to just be like a big muscle guy that got all these muscle head roles. He didn't want that. He wanted some serious roles. So if you go back and check that guy's, list of credits, he's done some great stuff. I mean, 007, he's done, something with Jodie Foster. He did a movie with Jodie Foster. He's done, of course, all 3 Guardians movies, or, Avengers. He's done some really great stuff. And what was the one he just did? The I Spy movie, or the
one where
a little girl? He's got the little, huh?
Is it the one where he jumps into the taxi and takes that over?
Oh no, that's Stuber. That's Stuber. That's like he's that's a funny one too. I did a bunch of stuff on that one with him. I mean, there was a bunch of lines they had to fix on that, and that was just a funny movie. I mean, that was him, just having a lot of fun, and and man, he loved that movie too. So yeah, I mean, he's just just a great guy to work with too. I've always, you see different actors come in and their personalities and how they go about things. And he always is willing to do another take if you want him to, or do something else, or give him some direction, because he wants to learn it and he wants to do it right and he wants to do it great. It's just fantastic to watch that guy work. I love watching that guy. He's really good.
Gosh, that's great. So do you know can you disclose what he's got coming up next, what you have coming up next, all that good stuff?
It's funny. I just reached out to him because 2 days ago was his 52nd birthday.
Oh,
and he had it posted.
Happy
He had it
birthday.
posted on Instagram or whatever. So I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, you're getting kind of up there in age. You better get over to the studio and do some more stuff, man. I don't want to miss out on any of this." So he's a great guy. Yeah.
He seems like really nice. That's so cool. Hey, Neil's back here. And
Oh my gosh.
There you go. Wait, you're on mute, Neil. Unmute yourself.
Ooh, here we are.
Hey, really quick though, I want to tell Julie, if you're into
Yeah.
if you're into the gaming, I don't know how much you're into the gaming stuff, but they did he's a new, because he's the voice of one of the oh boy, I can't remember the Gears. You know any Gears 5? It's like a pretty big game on Microsoft, I think, or something. I'm not big on the game stuff, but he
I'm not
did
familiar.
all the voice. And let me tell you, doing voiceovers for gaming, I mean,
Totally different.
that's thousands of little clips.
Yeah,
Because it's got, if you say this, then it's got to go there, and if they say this, it's got to go to a different place. So they've got to say the same thing like 10 different ways, the same exact line and the same exact energy, and that's a tough gig right there. We were probably 4 days in the studio with him then.
Wow, that's a lot, because I do voice work too, and it's I know it's, you can have a 30-second spot and you're there for like 4 hours. Something just
Sometimes, absolutely.
Depending how many voices you have and all that. And just quickly, speaking of voices, H. John Benjamin, I am in love with his voice.
Oh, okay.
He is. If you know who he
I
is,
don't think he hasn't been in the studio, but I'll keep my ear out for him.
Yes, please do. He's one of those great voices. Neil, you're still muted, my friend.
Look at Neil's talking.
I know.
Neil, you got to turn your mic on.
Almost. There you go.
There is some fuckery here.
Uh-oh.
I
I thought you were calling it something else before.
I was trying, but there's always a new euphemism for fuckery. It's just the one that works best for most general purposes. That could be internet problems. It could be dialogue coaches needed for somebody who should be able to read. Do you have any of that go on where you have people have to have a dialogue coach like on site, or any of that happen ever? I'm curious.
I haven't ever had to have someone like that, but I mean, unless they're like a child that has to have a coach with them. I've done that a few times.
Cool.
Back to this was interesting too. When I did the Guardians of the Galaxy, that was the first time I ever had to have a security person come with the movie, and they had to sit there the whole time and watch everything I did and make sure nothing got out. And when we were done, I had to download it to their hard drives, and then they erased everything.
Right. Of course.
They didn't want anybody to have nothing on nothing. Yeah.
Right.
So I couldn't even pull up a line or two from it, because once the session was over, it evaporated.
Right. Wow. I'm curious regarding John Travolta. Did you since you worked with him a lot, I'm assuming by this time you kind of have a pretty comfortable relationship. Like, how does it work? Is it usually his manager, or are you guys at the point where he just rings you up and says, "Hey, I'm doing something"? What's your relationship like with him?
Well, his assistant would call me. He never calls me or texts me or anything. No, but his assistant does. And I have a good relationship with her. And sure. And, he's typically a night owl. If you're ever read anything about him, I haven't started a session with him before 11 o'clock at night. We never start before that and go into the wee hours, So that's just the way he's programmed. And he's just always done that.
Gotcha.
So that's always, you just have to, it's just something you got to prepare for.
Part of the deal.
If I know I don't want to be doing a 14-hour day and then realize I got to start at midnight and I haven't slept and I got to go till 4 a.m. I can't do that. I can't not and be, not be on top of my game.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, man, you got to be on it. So I usually set myself up, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Always be prepared, man. Amongst many things I learned from you guys. Whenever anybody rags on Full Sail, I go, "Did you go there and never get a gig?" And I just in my back of my head, I know they just didn't have it. Whatever it is that people who get successful and keep working on their career, and they're open to listening and learning from people. That's the opening your mind up to just being teachable. Is I don't know. I've learned a long time ago because I love to talk, as you know. But when you got people you're working with and they're way above you and they're up here and they tell you something, listen. They're not attacking you, man. Learn it, steal it for your next session. Say that's cool, no problem. And
Sure.
I just went back to that because we've been friends a long time. And occasionally I'll hear somebody slag the school and I'll go, well, it's like any college, man. You could have a Harvard scholarship.
Well, of course.
You got to do the fucking time. You got to pay the time and do it.
Yeah.
Pay the blues, Yeah.
I mean, just because you go there and you learn I'm sorry, Julie, were you going to, because if you're going to go there and learn on all that great stuff they have there, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to work on. I mean, but at least you get an experience and you can take that experience and move on from that. So
I'll tell you.
You're getting a lot of comments. I see you guys are getting a lot of comments.
I see that. Well, a lot of them, we're putting comments up. This is a weird time of day as far as viewership goes. Our stuff tonight, I'll put it this way, within an hour of doing anything, there'll be about 100 people who've watched it. I don't even look anymore because I just know that once it's over, it's somebody's either commented or something's gone on. It doesn't seem like some days I go off and there's nothing. Within an hour or two, when I bother to check, which I haven't done in a while, I see a consistent number and keeps growing, and people are enjoying what we do, and I enjoy hearing what people talk about.
And then you post them on YouTube afterwards?
It's being streamed live to YouTube. It's being streamed to my Live with Neve page on Facebook, my personal Facebook. My two band sites, the Brothers Grimm and the Grimmer Twins, it goes to both of those. It goes to Twitch, Patreon, and right now I'm working on getting us on Apple.
How long does it stay on YouTube? How long does it stay up on YouTube?
I have premium, so it stays as long as I want.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I download all the shows, so I have them all. And all I can tell you is it's gotten a little better since we started. What is that think I'm hearing? Is that you?
No, but we do have to run to a break really quick. So,
all right.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Out here.
All right. We are back on Live with Neve. I've got Julie and Dan the Man Mockensturm.
Hey, Dan.
We're talking Foley, automatic dialogue replacement. Hey, Toby. Toby in L.A., our girl in L.A., is driving home from the grocery store. Well, you be safe. We know how much fun it is driving. I hope you're right near the house. She's reaching out from Encino, and I can just say it's still pretty early, which means the roads are just it's LA. They're like living in New Jersey. They're a good driving school.
Pat.
Like Pat.
Through downtown Tampa. Right, Dan? Going through the I-4 corridor.
Oh,
you do that. There's certain hours you don't do that. You're right, Julie. You don't want to do that.
Since I've moved from there, the I-4 corridor has gotten so ridiculous. I used to drive to freaking Full Sail after gigs at 2 or 3 in the morning, and back then, I could do that. But now, I mean, I'm amazed every time I come home. I'm like, I thought the traffic sucked here. They talk about LA or New York. It's like Tampa Bay is a tough place to negotiate. I mean, it just amazes me how much it's grown. And I know everybody living there is going, well, then dumbass, why did you move back to New York? But, New York's has its charms even now. Glad to be here. So let's talk about Foley. Do you guys get much Foley in there? And I don't mean catheters, people.
Nah, I don't. Nah, to be honest, no, not really.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, mixing and Foley, not so much. I mean, unless I'm working on a local project. If I'm working on a local project, yes. I'll do more of that type of stuff. But yeah, for the big time, I've only been an ADR guy.
I gotcha. So, okay. Well, that's.
But you want to switch over to the music thing, man? Talk to me about music. Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, well, the music thing for me is in a kind of a hold. I'm doing it. It's working on it. Like the song you just heard, the Manhattan song. I have literally 1 or 2 lines to go in and re-record. And my engineer has like really bad COVID. Not like he doesn't have COVID, but he has all the elements which would make him like super susceptible. So we haven't done a live session together.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't gotten done because there's a lot going on with the show nowadays. But I just took that mix and put it up because I like it, and it's almost done. I have literally 1 line that needs to be punched in. So the story of how it went, I was recording it. We started with a click track. I sang a ghost track for him while he played the piano for the whole song. Then I went in with that track playing and my scratch vocal, and I overdubbed the drums from top to bottom. At that point, I was like, okay, I want to just do a little better scratch vocal so that, we'll have something when we bring in all the other players. Like I brought my bass player in. We recorded it kind of oddly. It just came about as it evolved. So we get it all. I had Jerry Outlaw in Tampa, or St. Pete rather, play guitar on it. I had him doing all the stunt guitar.
That guy's amazing. That guy is just amazing. Isn't he? He's ridiculous. I love that guy.
Jerry, thank you for working with me the past, it's got to be 15 years that we've been associated. And Julie, tell everybody about your experiences and tell Dan about your experience with Jerry Outlaw.
Jerry is amazing. He was gracious enough to help me on my solo album, my first album, and Neil was gracious enough to work with me as well. So between those 2 awesome pros, I mean, it was just I learned a lot more than I would have learned anywhere. I mean, in radio, as an intern in anything, I learned more from Neil and more from Jerry just in that time working.
Oh, that's awesome.
Than I did.
That's so nice.
I'd like to hear the stuff. I would love to hear your stuff.
Well, we'll send you some.
I'll tell you, Neil said one thing a lot of things Neil says sticks in my head till today. One was the Phil Spector wall of sound, which I use all the time. I always have that going through my head. And then the other thing was, oh crap, no, I just lost it. Something you always used to tell me, and now I can't remember what it is.
I'd like, was it tune your guitar, please? Real nice. No, please tune your guitar. With Jerry Outlaw, that never fucking happened, ever. With Jerry, basically, go ahead. Let's talk Jerry.
You got to read. I'm sorry, Julie. You got to read. You find it. I saw it on Facebook, but you got to read. About Phil Spector. Neil, help me out. Who was the bass player, the woman bass player that played on all those tracks?
Carol Kay.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't know why her name slipped me, but she does a great tribute. She wrote a great tribute to Phil Spector. And it's long, and she explains like a lot of the sessions and who the players were and how they got the sound and how much it was great. Yeah, I think I read it 2 days ago or something. So you should read it. I couldn't stop reading it. It kept going. Oh my God, it's still more. Excellent. There's still more. There's still more. But it was like, yeah. I mean, it's Carol Kay. I mean, the woman.
Hey, I've reached out to her
She even said
I
it,
reached out.
thousands of songs, tens.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have been reaching out to
Check
her.
that
I know
out.
she will occasionally. Oh, there it is. It is on. Okay. She does interviews occasionally. She's getting up in years, but I really want to have her on because I've had so many great bass players coming on, lately,
Uh-huh.
starting with Leland. I've got a bunch more of our friends who are real good, and I'm hoping we can get Carol on. I basically am going to get every top killer bass player I can in the world, and I'm going to say to her, look, I wrote you a letter
Julie, that
last
sounds
year.
like a drummer. That's a drummer right there, right? He's trying to make friends with all the bass players. Yeah, he's no fool.
Hell
He's
yeah,
no
man.
fool.
I know how to keep it
Yeah,
going,
man.
man. My bass
That's
player
right.
and I are like glue. My boy that you heard
That's
playing on Manhattan, I have to say, shout out Matt DiGiovanni, the man, the myth, and the savage bass player. I know you're
good.
gigging this weekend, and I'd give you a shout out, but I can't. I don't know where you're at. I probably won't be there, but I am interested. I've said it on Facebook. So Matt's just a killer, and I'm hoping Miss K will
It must be
come
true.
along. It must be true. It's on TV.
Yeah.
Well, like I
Uh,
wanted to,
There you go.
I wanted
Go
to
ahead,
say
Jules.
add that one last thing, Neil, that always stuck with me. I was very stubborn and didn't. Neil had said to me, Madonna does her own producing. Madonna does her own music. She owns every single bit of it, much like Prince. But
Oh, yeah.
Neil had said that to me, that Madonna does her own producing. So stubborn. So me as a stubborn 22-year-old thinking I got my first album out. I'm gonna produce it myself. I can tell you, worst mistake of my life. Worst mistake of my life. And letting Neil do what he needed to do was all I needed to do.
You don't realize how important that is, right? Until you step back and let
Yeah,
that guy take over. He's got a fresh perspective, different ears.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, you just got to get that guitar just right. And he's like, no, it's fine. I'm telling you, we got more important things to work on here.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And with Jerry Outlaw, the best thing when you're producing with you have like somebody who's doesn't have it down, it's so much fun to bring in like really excellent players like, him or Dan not Dan, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of a drummer oh shit. The Reinhardts, for example, I used them back in those days.
Dave Reinhardt. Yeah.
Dave and Ron, and those they go way.
That's what you're hearing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Are you taking? Is that like time to check the Depends, or what's going on? We are getting old,
Dude. No, it means it means we're living in the modern age of Ring. And someone's at my door, but I mean, It's not for me, but yeah, I got another guy on the other side, another studio over there, and they probably just left for lunch or something. And so them walking in and out of the door makes it ring.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it drives me bonkers.
I bet. I know.
Because it's all weekend long, it's all night long, it's all morning long. It's like it's on my phone. Drives me. I got to have it, I guess, because I got to keep tabs on the place, but.
You're out in West Tampa now, right?
I'm right on Himes, just a mile from the stadium. Just a mile down the street from the football stadium. Yeah. Where Tom Brady plays, where the Super Bowl's going to be in a couple of weeks, And now I heard just like maybe in April, the WWE is going to be there for, their big show is going to come down here again. So, yeah, it's big just down the street.
Is the game
Wish I could get some of that work. Let's see.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I hope you get a flurry of work, maybe some passes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I know how it is with the NFL, man. The NFL is like
I don't think
tight. I used to work a lot of those games. Yeah, I'm joking because I will tell you, like back when Glazer, I think they still own it now. I haven't paid much attention to our team.
I think they do.
But when they took over, the prior administration was great. Jane McKee used to hook us up. We'd get a couple of tickets.
Oh man, Jane, you got to have Jane on here, man.
Oh, I've had Jane on. In fact, we have a show that's on YouTube still. If anybody's watching, who I always affectionately call the Bookin' Bitch. And I told her that, like last time we interviewed, I said, I mean that with total respect and like, thank you. She's one of the only agents I've ever dealt with. There was just no bullshit, not even once.
Wow.
I didn't even have like a double
She's good.
gig booked. She's good.
Yeah, yeah.
She's smart. She
Yeah.
is the cream of the crop in the Tampa music scene. If you're going to be booked, you want to have her know you.
Everybody knows what Jane's World, isn't it? That's called.
Yeah, Jane's World Entertainment for you guys.
Yeah.
Go back, and if people watching, if you're a fan of the show, go back through some of the older shows. You'll find like Jane's interview is excellent. This was about the end of the summer in mid-COVID stuff, September maybe. And we talked about the state of what was going on. And at the time we talked,
Oh gosh, yeah.
I was hoping to be down in Florida. Well, first thing that happened, let me think about it. My daughter's wedding got canceled last summer. After that,
Oh, no.
yeah, and it's for the good. She's since decided she didn't choose well, which I'm not happy about for her heartbreak. But I'm glad. The guy was a schmuck anyway, and better to find it out before you marry than after. So, Asia, I love you. Be happy. Come on up to New York with Dad and stay a week. I'll get all that crap out of your head. She needs to come up here and hang with Dad. We'll go have some fun. You know, the museums are still open, and that's a good thing. But getting back to Jane, she I don't know if she's handling – the last time I talked, she was talking to the NFL about this year. And so I'm just going to assume, knowing Jane, that whatever she sets her mind to, she's going to get it. People, her reputation, done 2 Super Bowls, handled the entertaining, the local angle, and she's tremendous. Some of the bands, do you guys get gigs from her now?
You know, I've never signed with her, I guess, if you would say. A band I was in maybe did a couple gigs through her, but I never have. I've met her a few times and know of her. You know, a lot of my friends worked through her, but personally, I don't know.
Yeah, she's got the Black Honkies, who we're going to be having them on. You know, they'll be on the show. I'm kind of hoping to do, when I'm down Nashville in April, and I'm hoping to head south to do some kind of something live in Tampa, maybe a couple of shows, like a week there or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
But so it's a great time, as always, talking to you. And I think every time we talk, we kind of touch on some interesting points that people who are not into the inside baseball end of filmmaking and what recording musicians and the personalities and the temperament, we're hitting a broad audience, people who don't know and are students. I have a lot of young people, like full sail children, who occasionally will check in. Like, I'm interested when I get a young person who might make a comment or something. It doesn't happen often, but I'm gonna be changing that. I'm gonna try talking to Full Sail and see about maybe doing a show there, maybe using some interns.
Whoa.
And I'd entertain the notion, if they would have me, of going down and talking about the music business. You know, one of the classes, like Music Business 101, I know the curriculum's changed, but as I'm getting older, it seems more appealing to go out and help these guys, because it's all the same thing. It's just it evolves. And guys like us, we get older, we evolve with the technology. And I think a guy like you has, and everybody who really, whatever they do, if they do it at a professional level, they can help people, young people, go, wow, I never would have thought about that. Like, I love it when kids get into vinyl now. It cracks me up. I'm like, you know, I wish I had a 2-inch machine and a Neve and a digital, you know, a workstation. You know, the holy grail, having the big Neve console, the preamp. I'm looking behind you, speaking preamps. Look at that. Yeah, I bet. Look at what's behind you there. What do you got in the... Yeah, what do you got behind you over your right shoulder?
So I was going to ask about your stack there. I was checking out all of your stuff. Every time you're soloed out, I'm watching your background and trying to see what equipment you have and everything. So,
well, you know, nowadays that's all it is. Let's see, it's over this way. Yeah, it's over this way. It's all you know, it's all about the preamps now. You just, you know, preamps in, and so there's a couple of Avalons up there. I think there's a Focusrite up on top. You know, I've got a Yuri down on the bottom. It's just, you know, and then you got the mics. You know, I've got all kinds of mics. I mean, you know, as you should, you know, U87, 414s, and MKH50s, and Lobs, and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, and of course, you know, because that just goes, all of those just go directly to Pro Tools. I mean, that's just
Right.
as we know now, that's just the norm. It's funny because Julie, I don't know if you would know this, but when he was talking about the synclavier earlier, the synclavier was like the predecessor to all that stuff. But it was just
Right.
what you would think of it as, is dinosaur, big, bulky, expensive computers and hard drives from 30 years ago. That stuff's just,
Right.
now everything's done on a laptop. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there was when I first started in radio when I was interning at 98 Rock here in Tampa. They had I was still cutting tape as an intern for sports and stuff like that, but they had I forgot the name of it. It was a big machine, digital machine, and it was a digital editor. But it was a solo machine, like on wheels, and it was about maybe 3 or 4 feet high, and that's where you did the digital editing. But it was just one machine, and and then we used that for I don't know how long, and then finally we were able to start using things digitally and changed everything. So I was that one person that was coming from on the end of the cusp of the tape and all that, and moving into just strictly digital stuff. So that was
Yep,
was
that's
fascinating. Yeah.
right. And I started out there with the synclavier doing digital editing, and that's what the synclavier was just one of those boxes that had it all. I mean, it was a keyboard.
Right.
It had its own keyboard, so that you didn't have to buy a MIDI controller. It had its keyboard. You didn't have to buy a sequencer. It did sequencing. You didn't have to buy a FM synthesizer. It had an FM synthesizer. You didn't have to buy a sampler. It was a sampler, and eventually hooked up to a 16-track digital hard disk recorder, which is what Pro Tools is today, right?
Right.
And but this thing was the whole thing in one. Now you have to buy controllers and MIDI and sound modules and plugins and blah, blah, blah. But this box was a standalone that did all that stuff. But, Michael Jackson had 4 of them, I think, or something. They were $150,000 a piece. So it wasn't like,
can you touch my
Neil and I
synclavier?
weren't buying one, that's for sure.
No,
I wasn't buying one. I mean, I worked on them, but I never bought one. I wasn't buying them. So,
tell me, did you ever have the fun of working with Michael, where you could say, "Can you touch that knob again? I like the way you did that."
No. But I did know his
sorry.
guy. I knew the guy that did work for him, though.
Oh yeah,
Mitch. What was Mitch's last name, though? I can't remember his last name now. But he actually worked at New England Digital and developed a lot of that stuff. And he was so smart at it that Michael hired him away, and he ended up working for Michael exclusively.
Wow. Oh, wow.
He still does stuff out there, I think, out in LA. He was big time.
right.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll have to look into his past. That's interesting. I like getting a lot of the folks who've worked with really great people to give their insight about recording and the vibe. And I also like we keep coming back to the people factor. I know that's like Julie and I. We work well together, and we've been doing it for a long time. But we were friends now. Like it's got to be almost 25 years. So
Yeah, it's going on.
any rate, it's a while, and you have that. It's like when you work with somebody in a studio long enough, you just know you can think for each other. And I think
you get those
now.
Yeah.
I think it's great when you have a couple of people who are skilled enough. Nowadays, people are multi-talented. They know how to produce. They know how to engineer. And it makes things a lot easier with all the gear. I mean, the only thing limiting someone from making stuff is taste. And, with whatever you do.
That's where your producer comes in, right, Julie?
Yeah, right.
Right.
I actually have a question for you about gear for a second. I wanted to know your opinion on USB mics.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I would say about that is I'm just afraid that, you're not getting the quality of, a high-end mic. I mean, I just don't think that the diaphragms and the electronics that are built into them are going to be, world class.
Right.
Do I think they're usable and have their place and suffice for certain things? Sure. I mean, I've heard people that do podcasts on a USB mic, and it sounds fine. I mean, but look what they're doing. They're doing, a podcast that's being, recorded probably on a simple software and edited, minimally, and put out on someone's laptop. So they're not making it CD quality, that's got to be mixed at, you know, Capitol Records in LA.
Right.
I don't think.
Well, that's good. So for all our podcasters out there, there's Dan the man.
Well,
that's my take on it. I've heard I've helped people set them up. That's one of the things that has really changed our industry too, is being, from the commercial end of it, we were doing a lot of voiceovers. I mean, anybody who was, 20 years, 10 years ago, if you were recording a voiceover for a commercial, and this, Julie, if you were doing it, you came to a studio, but about 5, 7, 10 years ago, people started building their own studios, doing it from home, their own little voiceover booths. I don't know how many closets people have told me they've, insulated their closets, right?
Right.
So, just was natural transition that people would call me and ask me, hey, how do I set this up? Or I just bought this. Can you come and help me? And, it was because here I am helping someone who's never going to come back to my studio because I just lost a client.
Right.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
So I'm helping them set up a studio so they can do it all at home now. But what are you going to do? I mean, it was a wave of the future. Everybody was doing it. So, and many times though, pardon?
I said, do you just start charging by the minute or by, for your
I never could charge anybody to go to their house. I mean, I don't know. I always felt like they were calling me as a friend more than as a client. I had a hard time charging people. But, but then when it would get serious, like if they got a big job, they would always come
back. Right.
They would come back, or if they couldn't do things like if they had to do an ISDN, they had to do a lock to picture, they had to do, something that was a more technical, they had to deliver certain file types that were edited and cleaned and mixed. Your average voice guy typically wouldn't do that. So they would still have to come to a professional. I like to hope to think I am to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and again, Neil, that goes back to don't burn your bridge.
You know it. Absolutely. You just don't do it. Don't fuck it up.
Don't do it.
Yep.
Maintain those relationships, I mean, really.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
I'll tell you another thing that I've really,
go ahead.
Neil, I'll tell you one other thing about along that lines is being into voiceover stuff. I got the chance to work with a lot of kids, and I've worked with a lot of kids, and that's joyful because
absolutely
you see the wide eyes. I mean, they never been in the studio. Wow.
Right.
And,
so doesn't that feel so good?
It's like amazing.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Man.
And there's a couple of girls that I worked with and a young talent that I've worked with from Tampa that have gone on to do like Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, all kinds of cartoons, Cartoon Network and so on. And, to see them start I did their first demos. And then to see them go on and for like 3 or 4 years, get a lot of work and just build up their reputation. But only, and I can say, yes, it's, their mom's pushing them, of course. But you got to be able to deliver. When they get in that booth, and if they're not, professional or good at what they do, they're not going to get the call back. I mean, that's normal. That's the way the business works. But some of these kids are really great, and it's so fun to see them. And I think those become a little bit longer clients. You get these clients that are young, and who knows? They know you for a lifetime. And that's a beautiful thing.
Did you watch the Quentin Tarantino movie? His last one, Something Happened in Hollywood?
No, and I should. I'm not a big movie watcher, unfortunately. I I feel like, Neil, I got so much stuff going on that sometimes I feel guilty watching, movies or sports events or sitting down for 3 or 4 hours when I probably have other things I should be doing.
Yeah, I get it.
Terrible.
I get it. There's only so many hours. The reason I brought it up is in that movie, there's a young actress, and I'm not sure of her name, but it's like I can imagine her career being an actress, and she's probably 7, 8 years old, I'm guessing. And she is the precocious child, and she steals the movie. The movie's, I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's not what you would think regarding a Quentin Tarantino movie. It does have a few, it doesn't have like the big bloodbath in the way you'd normally expect it. And it's kind of, some people, my girlfriend, she was like, God, is something going to happen? It was very un-Quentin-like in its sequencing of how it went. It was neat. I liked the movie, but it took me watching it twice to appreciate it. This young girl was just unbelievable. She's basically talking to a washed up alcoholic actor and lecturing him and telling him how to be on time. And like, she's so innocent yet so knowing. And it's a wonderful, I think it steals the movie. You can see it's a different side of Quentin you don't see, but it's inside baseball because their conversation's all about script and how to read it. And how, do you want me to read your lines for you? Like they would do a reading back and forth. For people who don't know what that is, it's where you have a script and you have somebody has the other script and you just do readings to memorize your lines and figure out what you're going to do with the acting part. And it was amazing watching her tell him, well, I'll help you read your lines, that kind of a thing. Stole the movie. Kind of
young,
like McGonagall.
Young talent. It's just, it kind of just was refreshing for me too,
Absolutely.
to be able to just again enjoy see the excitement and be excited with them.
Yes.
And help shape them. That's where I never really dug teaching. Like teaching was a little frustrating for me. I did it for like 2 years, but
right.
I wanted to be a doer. I didn't want to be a teacher. But because I had those skills, and I hope to think I have good people skills, that working with those young people it's so nice to share your knowledge and experience. And how many times the producer or the mother would say, wow, you really you said the right thing, or you really you knew how to bring that out of them, or you really made them feel comfortable, and and by explaining
you're a dad. You're a dad, man.
Well,
and
there was some of that, and that's part of the element too. That's what we talked about. It's the whole package, man.
Right. Well, listen, I want to talk more about this, and so it's time we got to wrap. But you know what? I'll reach out in the next time I see you, and we're hitting each other back and forth. I'll hit you up. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, Neil. Thank you for having me on, and nice to meet you, Julie. You guys were great. I really had a good time, man. So, anytime.
All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on with us. Everybody, I've been live with Dan Mockensturm. So right now, it's Neil Van Erdy, Neve. It's Neil Ernest Van Erdy. For those who want to spell it, forget about it. Just call me Neve. We're out of here. See you tomorrow.
For bonus content, extras, and all sorts of cool goodies, become a patron. Go to Patreon. Live with Neve.